Buongiorno, everyone. Welcome to the Magpie Channel TV podcast, live here as always, 7 p.m. Tuesdays at Anarchy Brewery. Scan that QR code, get yourself some more beer, and support War Flags in the process. We're here tonight, loads to talk about. Funny enough, for a change,
Yeah.
Just a Darren Eales interview dropping.
Yeah.
About an hour or two ago there, with all the latest on the tune, all the answers to the many questions that Newcastle United fans had, amongst the Eddie Howe to England rumours, transfer links, the new recruits, loads going on. Let's just
not like us
to
to change the structure of the podcast. There we are. We're up. Yep. We normally have the list set out with what we're going to talk about on the podcast, but every Tuesday there's some breaking news. Changing the structure. I was like, why do we even bother? Might as well leave it at the last minute and then just waffle on.
Yeah. Not going to start writing an agenda or topics, bullet points to go through until we actually get here to film, because it changes every single time and it makes a massive lift for us, which could end up being a bloody 3-hour podcast.
Yeah, in the season, there's always some breaking news now. There's always a big injuries. First 3 weeks of the podcast, like, Joe Litton's out for the season, but he's someone else. Wilson's out. I was like, someone's out for the season. Class. Right. Really good news.
Right. Well, there is plenty of good news today, to be fair. We have checked out Darren Eales, the CEO of Newcastle United's recent interview over there in Germany. Mm-hmm. He has mentioned quite a few things which we've been looking forward to, because we've been worried. A lot of fans have been concerned over the lack of transparency over the last few months, to be fair. We haven't had much, even after the old PSR deadline, the panic around who is Gordon going to leave, is Bruno going to leave, and then we end up selling Mintner and Anderson. So Eales has answered questions on that. We've got some transfer rumours to get into, amongst other things, but of course, as the title suggests, we have to start, Keg, with the resounding breaking news that hit the deadlines this morning, which was Gareth Southgate resigning from his England role after 8 years, only 48 hours after that Euro final defeat.
Yeah, not so surprising. I mean, I think we've all seen it coming. He was out of contract in December anyway. We've got 6 Nations League games between now and December. But...
You love the Nations League, don't you?
Oh, it's class. I watch every minute of it.
Big fan.
I can't wait to play Ireland away and the other 2 teams. I don't know who it is. I think it was always up for debate. Like, I don't think he was ever going to get a contract renewal unless we won it, maybe. But yeah, 8 years. I think it's good on him to make this decision. If it was him, maybe he had the kind of, are you leaving this year, Gareth? Do you want to just decide to leave so we don't have to make you leave, do you? But not surprising. But after I was going to say a decent tournament, but we got the final.
That was decent.
Third final in the nation's history. 2 of them were led there by Southgate. So good 8 years on paper. Probably going to go down as one of the most historic managers of all time. You can put him up there, certainly with Sir Alf Ramsey. He's either first or second, or maybe he's tied. I'm not sure. But because of what he'd done on paper, probably is England's most successful manager without winning anything, and that's why Alf Ramsey probably pips him.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, that's what the history books will tell you. As the fans that went through these games, it was a bit shit. So yeah, not so surprising. I think it is the best move. I think if he decided to renew him, he could have decided to run out his contract and leave in December. That would have been fine. No one would have grumbled about that, as long as he ultimately left before Christmas, then that's good. But done now. So we'll look to move on, and hopefully we don't replace him with a certain Edward Howe.
Well, let's hope so. That's what we'll get into in a minute, the candidates to take over the England job. But it was rumoured that the FA wanted him to stay on, didn't they? They said that the offer was on the table. They wanted Southgate to lead them to the 2026 World Cup.
I mean, that's the problem, isn't it?
That's the problem, man. If they can't see whatever else,
it's the FA's problem.
Yeah,
it's not Gareth's fault.
Obviously, it is a difficult one, because if you watch the games, you'd think this is horrendous. He has to go. But if you looked, like you say, at his record on paper,
in 20, 30 years' time, no one's going to give a shit how shit them games were.
No one will remember how boring the game was against Slovakia or Slovenia or Denmark.
Go back to 1966 when we actually won it. I think most people, probably everybody, but maybe it's not everyone's seen that game, like watched back that final. I think I got the free DVD from like the News of the World or something when I was a young, and I think I've still got it somewhere. But I've actually seen it. They've actually got it in colour.
Channel 4 repeated it the other day, didn't they?
I think it's on Prime in colour. So I think that'll be interesting, because I've only seen it in black and white. So if anyone hasn't seen that game, then you're an embarrassment. But I'd also recommend going and watching it in colour on Amazon Prime because I think that would be absolutely class. But did anyone watch the quarterfinal or the semi-final or any of the group games in 1966? Like, nobody gives a shit.
I think we got off to a bad start. Someone said to me in '66 because, like you say, I don't know what
lost the first game, maybe. But
I think he was under pressure. He was like a bit like this tournament where your Southgate was changing it. Got like a Kobe, different midfielders, different.
As far as we know, it was a shit tournament all the way through, and we had to win it in extra time. It was like a Southgate special,
and it was at Wembley, so that
So as far as we know, Alf Ramsey wasn't as shit as Gareth Southgate, but because he won the trophy, nobody gives a shit. He's the greatest England manager of all time because he won a World Cup. Gareth Southgate took it to a World Cup final and 2 Euros finals. So in 20, 30, 40 years' time, nobody's going to give a shit what Southgate did or didn't do on the field in terms of his subs, his squad selection. You just look at the end product, 2 finals, a semi-final, unbelievable.
He has one for you. He has a little twist for you, right? Just to play devil's advocate, even though I obviously wanted Southgate out as well. Could we look back at this and it'll be a moment of be careful what you wish for? Because to be honest, what is the target for the World Cup for that new manager? It's to win it. It's to do better than Southgate to get to a final.
I mean, it could be. I mean, technically, I think we've had better years in terms of the teams, like the golden generation, like 2004. I think we've played better football. I think we've had better teams, but we didn't get as far as Southgate did. So would you rather play a nice brand of attractive football and go out at the quarterfinal every year for 30 years, which we did do? Or do you want to get to the final and fluke it by being absolute dog pants?
And I'll tell you what we were good at and what we turned around was penalty shootouts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We were terrible at them back in the day. Every time we got in one, we get knocked out.
Love
to Southgate, I was always confident of getting that penalty shootout win. And I think that's what he was going for against Spain. Now, if you think when we did so well to get back into the game, sit back again. But listen, Southgate on record, on paper, did a very good job.
Yeah.
The football obviously wasn't great. Yeah. So now attention turns, Keg, to the future. Like you see, the next game is against Republic of Ireland in September. I haven't got long to wait, so be pleased with that.
Get in.
Nations League.
I'll put that in my calendar.
We're all get dead excited for the Premier League to come back. We play about 3 games and bang, you're international break again. Absolutely hate that.
Breaks the early momentum class.
But with that in mind, then, we obviously know that Eddie Howe is one of the favourites, joint favourite, to be fair, alongside Graham Potter. And we'll talk about other options in a minute as you've got the current odds and the favourites to take over. What do you make of that then? Will Eddie Howe be tempted by a proposition from the FA?
I think it'd be crazy not to be. I mean, it's England at the end of the day. I think if anybody, player, person or manager like us as kids, like we all would have dreamed of playing for England, winning the World Cup. But obviously, you know that a football career isn't very long. So if you wanted to go into management, that's the dream job. I think anybody would want that job. Like, look at those that's just retired, like, Lampards, Gerrards, Rooney's, like they would all love it. And for Eddie Howe to not want it, it's ludicrous. Like, of course he'll fucking want it. But I think the time needs to be right for any job, any movement in management, especially international management, because it's sort of like, it's a big responsibility and a big paycheck, but it's also like semi-retirement because you don't have that week in, week out where I think Eddie Howe's age, he's still very young, still in his 40s. I think he's just so obsessed with football. Like, he's so into tactics and just like the day-to-day working in football. You don't get that with England. You'll probably get loads of time off. Like, guess Steve Bruce, you'll fucking love it. You get to be on the beach in Marbella half the year. You'll be raging to come back. Like, oh, fuck, I've got an England game next week. How about that? Shite. Like, oh, man. I just don't think it suits Eddie Howe. So later in his career, once he's kind of conquered club football, which hopefully he does with Newcastle,
that'd be great.
Then absolutely. I think he probably is the best candidate. He's the best English manager out there by a country mile. But I just don't think it suits his style right now. So interesting and flattered. I'm sure he'll be majorly flattered, but I can't see it being for him right now. I think he's balls deep in the Newcastle project, loving day-to-day work, sorting out tactics and getting prepped for a game every weekend or 2 games a week, whatever it is. Like, that's where he thrives. Like an England game every fucking 2 months or something. It'd be boring for him.
I think so. I think you kind of take away the fact of how much he is a workaholic. Do you know what I mean? There, 5, 6 a.m. there, till 5, 6 p.m.
Yeah, he's addicted.
I don't think you can flick that switch, really. Obviously, he took that time out from Bournemouth to recharge. I think he would start losing his mind.
He said, I think when he first joined Newcastle, like he but he had like 2 weeks off and he was just bored. That's why he went and worked like with Simeone at Milan. He went around Europe learning new stuff. So he didn't. He had like 2 years off, but he didn't really have 2 years off. He was like crafting, like he was like developing his craft and like learning and maturing and developing and writing tactics and ready for his next job. So it wasn't like a break, really.
He said he went and looked over all his old notes from like 10 years ago when he first started management and ended his playing career.
He had 2 weeks off and he was bored as fuck.
But he said didn't he say like he went to a caravan park with his family and his kids and he's like pulling his hair out.
He was
rich. So that wouldn't stem to me that's someone who can, like you say, be off for months at an end. Just spending your Saturday maybe at Old Trafford, then I go to Villa Park and I can't see him doing that. I think ultimately down the lane he will be in the manager one day if he continues on the trajectory that he's at Newcastle United.
And I kind of hope he does, but not right now.
No. I think it is the wrong time for him, and I think he is invested in the project in Newcastle United.
Yeah, definitely.
Even though listen, he was asked about this on
Gary Neville
and on Jake Humphrey's podcast as well, where he was asked about England and he said like he'd be lying if he admitted that he didn't want to be England manager, but he also said, like it's not in his mid to short term thinking at all. And even if it was, right, because people have said this in comments stuff, he said he's not even, it's not like he's going to go on a podcast when Southgate was still employed and when he's employed by Newcastle saying that, yes, I want his job and I don't want to be at Newcastle anymore. That's not gonna happen anyways.
I think any question like that is quite political. Like you can't say yes for definite. Like, I'd fucking love it. Fuck Newcastle. You can get me that England job right now. Or he wouldn't
this place.
Or he wouldn't like just brush it off either. He wouldn't give it like a definitive no. Like, nah, not interested. Like, you wouldn't do it. You've kind of got to like just kind of sit on the fence a bit, give like a bit of a long-winded political answer that doesn't really answer the question. You just kind of got to dance around it a little bit and all. So, but like Southgate again on Sunday after the game, like someone asked him about his future and he danced around it. I think he knew he wasn't going to go, but he was like, now's not the time to talk about my future. Like it's blah blah blah, like blah blah blah. Like, but but you're not going to give like an exclusive. Like, I'm going to resign on Tuesday.
Tell you what, you just be a Tuesday at 12 o'clock. But TV's on then. For me, Eddie Howe, people are saying, is it aligning because of obviously Staveley, Gudusi leaving? People are saying, well, there's a change of director of football now. Is he going to get on with Mitchell? We're getting into what they've been up to at the minute in Germany, meetings that they've took place in the last day or so. So people are saying, it could work out for him to leave now. They could see him maybe leaving because the big admirers and the two that really were fundamental in bringing him to Newcastle was Staveley and Gudusi. They were there on the pitch with the shirt when he signed, and they're saying that could leave the door open for him because now is there going to be way more pressure on him with PIF having more of a stake in the club than they already did, and maybe potentially be more ruthless in what is now deemed to be phase 2 of the takeover this season.
I just think more like time will tell. Like I think Eddie's balls deep in the project, and I think he's enjoying what he's doing. And he did have a good relationship with Amanda and Merdad and everybody. So, but I think only time will tell. Like you haven't got a crystal ball to know what's going to happen. Like he hasn't really worked with Kevin Mitchell yet. Like I think they might have met this weekend, but they're going to have some talks in Germany over the next few days. But only time will tell. Like I don't think one conversation needs to be like, nah, fuck that, give me that England job. Like I think you'll need to give it at least a year, probably 2, maybe even 3, just to kind of work out that like development and that like bond, like the chemistry that they're going to have, and are we headed in the right direction? Are we aligned? Like I think alignment's key. Like everybody needs to be on the same page. Like yes, some things have been pulled out from under, were like Amanda and Merdad going and Dan Ashworth, and I think if Eddie Howe left for England, then that would be a massive spanner in the works. Like we'll get into Amanda. I think we'll get into Amanda and Merdad later on, but like I felt like that was pre-planned, and I think everyone was kind of prepared for that happening. I think that was always kind of part of the plan.
Just a bit sudden and soon.
Yeah, I think it's just a little bit unexpected for fans, but I think behind the scenes, they probably knew it was going to happen. And the Dan Ashworth thing's been in the pipeline for months and months. Like they probably already had Paul Mitchell along with a few other candidates like in the pipeline, with Mitchell probably being the favourite in the long run. I think everybody probably is already on the same page, but we just need to figure out how it's going to go, and that's going to take time. It's not going to happen over this week in Germany.
Just had to hold me laughing there on an immature but funny comment there from Peter Hasty. Didn't expect that one. I was reading it and then it caught me by surprise at the end. I was expecting some sort of trophy question or England question, but for those that are listening, back on Spotify, Apple and everything else, and not watching live on YouTube, lads, if you had to choose, lose Eddie to England or get bummed by a gorilla?
I'm not a big fan of gorillas.
No.
To be honest.
So, bye Eddie, unfortunately.
Yeah, see you later, Eddie.
My behind will thank you, because I wouldn't want to go up against a gorilla. But there we go. There's that question answered. And also a couple of people were saying, nice top, Matty. Thank you very much. Merchandise available on the magpiechannel.com. That works well.
Mine is in the wash. I was actually going to wear it the day, but it needs ironed.
Oh, yeah, didn't have time to get the iron out, did you
didn't want the visuals of a creased one. So, yeah.
Right then, so on Eddie Howe then, on Darren Eales, matter of fact, because there's loads to talk about in his interview, we may as well jump to this point first. And that is him basically issuing a hands-off one to the FA.
Great.
For Eddie Howe. He's saying, we believe in him, we love him. He said them words himself, no, we love him, he's our manager, he's perfect for this project, for where we're going. They love seeing him, they watch him day to day on the training ground, and seeing his hands-on coaching, tactical, he's absolutely spot on. That's what they want, and that's the future they see for Newcastle. They want him to stay. He also revealed, Darren Eales, that Eddie Howe signed a new long-term contract last summer, which nobody knew about. So he signed a new bumper contract on top of you already had a long-term deal, so you must be on a pod, especially, haven't you? A deal?
19 years.
Until you're 72 and you get a bus pass, Eddie, that's when you're needing. And he's saying a new long-term deal, which would include a big release clause that is unreported which one it is, the amount of it. So some are saying 8 million, 5 million, some are even saying 20 million. It would cost huge compensation to get him from Newcastle. So I think that could be a real sticking point for England as well, because you look at the other candidates, a couple of them, like Potter, who we'll mention in a minute, are unemployed. It'll be a lot easier to get than trying to claw them away from Newcastle. Yeah,
I heard, and I don't even know what source it was, not one that I believe, but from what I seen, I think yesterday, is that Eddie Howe did have an 8 million buyout clause to get him out of Champions League football. Without Champions League football, it goes down to 5. But yeah, whatever source that was, whether that's true or not, I ain't got a clue. I'm just passing on the message. But yeah, like I think going on to the candidates, like there are some really good available free agents at the minute, and whether it's 5 million or up to 20, like it's a lot of money for the FA. Like, can they really afford to buy somebody out of that contract? Like, is Eddie worth it that much to them, or would you go for a Potter that's free? Saves you a lot of money and pretty solid option as well, to be fair. But some of the other names on the list there as well, like, do you need to buy Eddie out of your contract? Are you that adamant to have him that you want to negotiate with Newcastle and pay, like I say, it is 20 million. I don't believe that it is, but for argument's sake, it was. Why would you bother? No. 5 million maybe. So, like, that's not a lot of money to the FA, so they could quite easily pay that if they wanted to. But then again, like, why would Newcastle have such a cheap buyout clause for such an important manager? Because any manager, any team could want them. Say Chelsea, they like second managers.
They paid a fortune for Potter from Brighton.
Chelsea would pay that, neighbour.
So with that, the thing with Eddie Howe is as well is that he is actually earning double what Gareth Southgate was earning at England as well. So Southgate was on about 4 or 5 million a year. It's believed that Eddie Howe was on about 8 and 9 million a year, so nearly double in wages as well. So the FA would have to fork out a lot of cash. And when you look at it, we'll look at it now, those names, Potter's right up there as well. I think it's going to be Potter. I think
it makes a lot of sense because he's still quite young as well. Like we mentioned, the age for Eddie Howe, like, and it not suiting him, maybe he's wanting to have a bit more of a career. But yeah, Potter's been a free agent since April 2023, like over a year, like nearly a year and a half. He hasn't had a job for. So
turned a lot down, didn't he? Turned AC Milan down, turned Ajax down.
They're mad offers them and all. Like most managers would snap that up. Like so,
didn't want to go manage Jordan Henderson.
So what are you waiting for? Like we said, like any English person would die for the England manager's job. So
maybe he was waiting, knew it was coming, didn't he?
Yeah, so if you're a free agent, then and they come calling, I think Graham Potter probably is the second best option to Eddie Howe. Maybe it's like he's proved it at Brighton. Things didn't quite go for him that well at Chelsea. I think the second might have been a little bit premature, to be fair. Might have deserved a little bit more time.
Took Pochettino got going pretty much all season. He only had a good 2 months at the end.
So yeah, because I don't want to lose Eddie Howe, and I think other fans from around the country probably would absolutely love to have Eddie Howe. One, because he's the best option, and two, to get him out of Newcastle. So I haven't got that. But from a Newcastle fan standpoint, Potter's my number one because he's a free agent, and from a financial point as well, FA haven't got to pay him out of a contract. I think Potter's a great manager, deserves another opportunity. England's a massive job. I think that could be good for him. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Graham Potter.
Potter's... Listen, Eddie Howe is the best English option. He does play the best football. I think if he was there on Sunday night playing 4-3-3, he would have had Gordon on the left, Watkins down the middle, and probably Palmer on the right. I think that would have completely changed. And that would have been the press, that would have been the energy that was required to defeat Spain for me. So I think he could have done the number there. But at Newcastle, you obviously want him to stay, so then you turn your head towards Graham Potter. It is the easier option, the next best English thing. It's rumoured that, well, it came out from both, to be fair. Gary Neville said he understands that England, the FA, want another English manager because obviously this was St George's Park thing that put so much money in investing in the youth and the coaching and everything. But also they wouldn't be against maybe looking at a Pochettino, and Pochettino is meant to be very keen on it as well and would like to speak to the FA about it. So if it was Potter, for me, I agree with what you were saying. I do think it's a decent enough appointment. However, it doesn't get as massively excited. Because I'm just thinking, is Graham Potter going to win you a World Cup?
Well, we're going to move on to some
other... You
other...
can't really tell at the minute, it's harsh, but...
Yeah, we're going to move on to some other candidates, because I think that is a big thing about having an English manager, which, quite frankly, I couldn't give a shit.
Right man for the job.
We've done it in the past with Sven and Capello. But yeah, best man for the job. It doesn't have to be an English manager, because over the years we've been really, really void. That's why we've had your Southgates and Sam Allardyce and Steve McLaren. Were they the best men for the job at the time? He's taking the fucking piss. I hope not. I hope English management isn't that bad. But yeah, looking at some other candidates, Poch is a massive option. Thomas Tuchel, I think he could be interested. You got Xavi, Joachim Löw, Zinedine Zidane. Who else is there? There's quite a few. Allegri's available.
Allegri would be alright, maybe. But he stinks of a Capello part two, doesn't it?
I don't know, but they're options.
Successful Italian stubborn
it doesn't have to be English for me. There's better options there from foreign, and I couldn't give a shit if they're foreign or English.
I couldn't care
best man for the job. Yeah.
If he's from Brighton or he's from Bangladesh. If it's the best manager for the job, then I don't care. Not that I'm sure of any Bangladeshi managers. But I would honestly, out of that list of who I think's reasonable, because Jurgen Klopp I would love, but I can't see that happening. Zidane would be interesting for sure.
Klopp, I forgot about Klopp. He's not on that list.
I'm not sure if that would happen either. I think the best option, realistically, is Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah, I think he'd be a great option.
I think he'd be up for it. A German in charge of England, that would be quite ironic if he was the one to bring football home.
Yeah,
since 1966.
Still 50 years old, still quite young in terms of management, but managed some big teams and won some trophies now. I think he could get England playing the way that we need to be to move on to that next step, because I've got a great young core of players. The future's really bright. We just need to get them playing the right way, which Southgate couldn't. But yeah, squad selection is key, but getting them playing the right style of football, not just boring, sit back, defend, one goal, right, that's it. And they sit back. I think Tuchel could actually make a big difference and actually take with that one step. I think he could quite easily do a Southgate and get with the semis and finals.
Yeah, me too.
But one step further.
League, can he?
Yeah. Go one step ahead.
Short recently, but what I like about Tuchel is he's very much a tactician as well, which is very much what Southgate was not. Do you know what I mean? There was many times where he just didn't make the changes required, didn't change the starting lineup, didn't combat how the opposition was playing. I think Tuchel would do that
every day.
I think his game management would be very good. And the difference between him and the likes of Potter in that is, we've said it, he's won majors, major honours, so that would be very nice. Richie in the chat there saying Klinsmann, someone calling for Klopp. Wouldn't mind someone like Sean Dyche for England, says Aaron. Anyone is better than Southgate. Dyche ball in England, 4-4-2, Calvert-Lewin up top. No,
Yeah, I'm not sure about. Also, he's in contract, so you'd have to pay him out of his contract. It's probably not as big a contract as Eddie Howe, but yeah, just stay there and Dyche. You're all right. Just stay there. That's fine.
I honestly think it'll be between, and obviously we haven't mentioned Lee Cause either. They're in a 21 manager. He's growing a lot of momentum because everyone's saying, look at Spain. They progressed Delafante. They won the cup the other night. He was at the under 17s, under 21s, and the seniors. I think it'll be between Pochettino and
Potter.
Graham Potter. That would be the two choices for me.
Take either one of them. Quite happy with either one.
In charge of England, that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think Potter would be my top choice there, but I think Potter's a fine option, so wouldn't grumble either way, just as long as it's not Edward.
Exactly, as long as it's not Edward.
Off Edward's paws.
And surely anyone, in terms of football in 90 minutes watching, will be an improvement on Southgate. Less of a snooze fest, surely.
Absolutely, yeah. You might
Look
actually
forward
be
to
interested in it.
You'd be more excited for the World Cup in 2016 if a Pochettino came in.
Because what we could do is like score a goal, go 1-0 up, and then maybe he's gone like 2-0 up. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
That'd be nice, that.
Maybe
you can see more than one goal again.
Maybe he's even get a bit ahead of ourselves and gone 3-0 up.
You need to sell yourself. What's in that? You need to sell yourself
too
down.
much, mate.
The percentage is too high on these Anarchy beers. I'm telling you, he's getting carried away himself. See who we've got in the group games there, and then we'll go. But that would then leave England looking tasty for that World Cup. For me, it would bring back a bit of excitement, because if Southgate had got announced, I said it at the time, in a bout of frustration at full time after the final, I'm not watching it. I'm not doing England. I'm not doing any fans. I'm not doing anything. If Southgate's still there, because I said it would be a complete waste of time.
Yeah,
pretty well.
It is just boring, man.
So Mancini there is a shout, winning pedigree.
Roberto
Did us
Mancini.
all well, didn't he?
Is he free? Is he?
I think we was at Saudi or something now. I think he's free now.
Roberto Mancini. I don't know. Can't remember.
What about obviously people saying for Mourinho as well, but he's now went to Fenerbahce.
Just signed a
He'll be good with that, you know.
I think that would be perfect for him.
That would be entertaining. He's obviously won it all, even though he's past it now. And I think he'd be gutted now if England did get Howe, because he would have definitely fancied taking over at Newcastle. He's made no secret of that, has he?
Yeah.
Anyways, that's enough for the England managerial shouts. The last thing on the three lines we will talk about is obviously the lack of game time for our Anthony Gordon. Mm-hmm. Just the 4 minutes of football for him over there in Germany this summer. Absolutely criminal. We'll ask you, Keg, and people in the chat as well, how will Gordon now be feeling? Will he be low on confidence, and will Eddie Howe have to pick him up? Because last summer, it was the complete opposite. He came back from the under-21s tournament as player of the tournament and as the trophy winner. Will he be feeling a bit down now after not getting included? Will he still have that self-belief? And obviously, he's had the thing about the Liverpool move where apparently his head was turned a few weeks ago.
Nah. Yeah, we've spoken about that a couple of times. Like, I don't think that was legit. I think Liverpool's interest was legit, and maybe he might have quite fancied it because that's his boyhood club, but I don't think his head would have been turned that much. I think he might have perked his interest a little bit, but wasn't really bothered either way. I think he's quite happy here at the Toon. But in terms of next season, I think he'll use it as motivation, because you've seen him like on Gary Neville's, was it the overlap he was on? Like he's really like psychological. Like he believes in like vision and like planning, preparation, and all that stuff. So I think he'll use this as like fuel to the fire. I think he'll come better. Like kind of take like Beckham in '99 after his red card, and Ronaldo after the whole Rooney thing after 2004. Like the players they came back from, like they were just absolute animals the year afterwards. Like Ronaldo, I think did he win the Ballon d'Or the year afterwards? But he won a shit ton with Man United, and same with Beckham, won the treble like the year afterwards when he was having effigies hanging from bloody lampposts and stuff. Like
that, it can even make or break it, can't it? Really?
Yeah,
but I
think Gordon's got the mindset to be able to use this as fuel. I think it'll make him better. I think it'll make him stronger and more determined to show up for the next guy. Hopefully not Eddie Howe. I think
definitely get a game.
Eddie Howe is definitely getting a game. But yeah, whoever gets the England job, I think he'll use that as fuel and just make sure that he is the motherfucking starter at left wing for the future, like World Cup 2026. I think it's his to lose. Like we already know he's the best left winger in the Premier League. The next manager might try a different formation. We don't know what obviously the future plan is, but if we'll play like the same kind of, there's nothing wrong with Southgate's formation. It was just more how we managed it. That was the problem. But if we'll play that same formation, an Eddie Howe formation, like a 4-3-3, then or like even like a 4-2-3-1, like that is Gordon's position. And I think he'll absolutely grab it by the bollocks and make sure that like how that's mine. Mm-hmm. That's my job there, right? Don't even fucking dare thinking we're putting Phil Foden there in 2 years' time, right? So yeah, I don't. Yeah, you'll be disappointed, I'm sure. But we've got a few weeks now. We've got pre-season. Just needs to kind of think about this, use that mentality that he's got over the next few weeks. And once we hit the first game of the Premier League season, I think he'll be absolutely gunning for it.
One thing we can see about Anthony Gordon for Newcastle United next season is he's coming back nice and fit, nice and relaxed, nice and rested.
Bit of a chin scratch, but
for a player that got all the way to the final, he is going to be fresh because he didn't play apart from 4 scabby minutes in the group stages. So at least he'll be coming back sharp. I was saying, obviously Newcastle are in Germany at the minute. We'll touch on that soon. He may as well just stay out there. Just join them at the end. That's like, course. He doesn't need a holiday. He just had a holiday in bloody Berlin and around Germany. He's been touring Germany, Euro trip, for the past 5 weeks, enjoying the 5-star hospitality. But I'm sure Gordon will come back firing, and I'm back to have another even better season, to be honest with you, than the last one. That's a big ask, to be fair. Double goals, double assists.
Yeah. I think he'll be hungry, and I think he's already got that boost and all. He knows people want him. Maybe he's going to audition for Liverpool, being at his boyhood club. Maybe he'll absolutely gun for it and be like, sign me next season, will you? Yeah. Man City or whoever wants to sign him. He already has an elite mentality, but I think he'll absolutely crack us next season. I think this will make him a better player.
Me too. Right then, on to what Darren Eales has just said this afternoon on NUFC TV. It's a 9-minute interview that's out there, so check that out if you haven't seen it already. After this podcast, don't leave us. We've talked about him, obviously, saying Eddie Howe's going nowhere. He's staying. I love him. There's a big deal that he's got, extra contract, extra compensation. That's it. Staying. Don't worry about it. Who else is staying is our star players as well.
Yeah, the core. Darren
Eales touched on this as well. He obviously mentioned PSR. He was saying the bad thing about PSR is obviously this new deadline. They had to get rid of Eddie Anderson. There was no choice, unfortunately. They had to get rid of him. They didn't want to, but that's the way it went. The same with Mintai. Wished them well at Brighton and Forest, but he obviously wanted them to stay. Didn't have a say in the matter, essentially. Yeah. But what is happening is the big boys are staying. He said he fully expects Isak, Bruno, Gordon to be here. Newcastle United players at the start of the season, which we all love to hear.
Yeah. I think it's what we all believed as well. That's something else that we've spoke about over the last few weeks. Anytime that there's big news or any scares, I should say, big boys like Liverpool wanting Gordon and say, that's not very good. Didn't like to hear that. So, we've spoke about this, but I absolutely believe that this is the core. This is the future. And any interest, I don't think it was genuine, because I don't think anyone that was interested could pay what we want for them, because they're that important. We would absolutely hold teams to ransom. There are 3 key players. Sign them if you want, but you're breaking records to sign them. We weren't going to let them go cheap. I fully believe that they all would be here next season, and as Eales is confident in saying that they will be. There we are. There we are. Apologies about that. We're back now. We're back. Technical difficulties.
Oh, just the old thunderstorm outside, to be fair. That's why I think the rain's going to flatten the roof any minute now.
It's absolutely belting down. I can hear it.
Summer in the tuna. Where else would you rather be?
Lovely July, man, innit?
Great stuff. Sorry about that, Peter, but we are back now. So we were saying about the Stars staying. So even if Eales saying this, but is there any possibility that if a team did come back in, there's still rumours on going away of Man City maybe trying for Bruno and stuff?
Yeah, nah.
Do you believe Eales, though? Do you fully believe that they'll be here?
Yeah, definitely.
After the window?
I think it's just because of the ransom, not the price tag, the ransom that we will hold. And because they're so important to us, as I've said over the last few weeks, I don't think people get that. People don't buy at market value, and I think we would absolutely hold that ransom because of it being a key player. You don't want to sell your key players, and you don't sell your key players at market value. You sell them well beyond the market value to where it's like compensation. You get the market value plus the compensation, what it's worth losing such a key player, which could be millions, tens of millions,
millions,
dozens of millions. I don't think it's worth it for anybody else to pay for them. If City want Bruno, like, what would we even accept? I don't think Isaac, Gordon. I think they're all to us worth at least 120 million, which is well beyond the market values. I believe. Maybe not. Maybe it's about pretty much bang on. I think you could get an Isaac or a Bruno somewhere else in the world for around about that price. Gordon, I don't know if he's worth that much yet, but to us, that's pretty much their value to us, not the market value, but our value. So yeah, I don't think anyone would pay that money for them. I think there's maybe cheaper options out there that people could look around for. I think we would just absolutely play a hard ball, negotiate strongly, just to try and push them off. Like, did we say we wanted like 200 million for Isaac or something like that? Like, yeah. If you want to buy Isaac, give it 200 million. But yeah, I think that's the way that we've got the place. Like, we don't need to sell anymore. The PSR deadline's passed. We're in like a new 3-year period now. We're not under any obligation to sell. We've got money for Anderson, Minter, and even Dan Ashworth. Yeah, so we're comfortable now. Like, we've got money to spend, so we're going to go into the transfer market. And I'm pretty sure that's what Darren Eales said. We're ready to start buying players now. We've got the money. We just need to identify. We need to put the heads together. Eddie Howe and Paul Mitchell need to come together this week in Germany and identify their targets, and we'll go and get them.
Dan was asking the questions there at Darren Eales, and he was trying to get that out of him. You know, what can fans expect now for the rest of this summer window? How much is on the table? How much can we spend? Type of thing. And Eales said, being quiet about it, but basically, it's probably going to be, in around the 100 million mark again, really, isn't it? When you look at players that can be brought in, he says spending can happen now, like you just mentioned, because of PSR passing them, because they're in a new window now. And he said, now we obviously have the Adidas deal and stuff like that to comprehend with and to help us massively with PSR. So we're looking good for the remainder of the window. Big signings coming, hopefully.
Yep.
Names that have been linked in recent days is Javi Simmons, the winger, who obviously scored a screamer against England at the Euros.
It was a good goal.
So he's at PSG at the minute. This was Fabrizio Romano that was saying that he could be coming to Newcastle. Apparently, we did an inquiry about him. He has also been linked to Germany, to Bayern Munich, to Leipzig. Is that someone you could see signing for Newcastle, or you'd like to make a move on?
I think he's a great young player. I just don't. I'm not sure where he would fit in. Like, where would you say his prime role is? Is he like a number 10?
No, he's a winger, but he's normally on he's the right Miggy special. The problem with him for me is obviously against England as well. He played on the right wing, cutting on his left foot, scoring screamer. That's his thing. Yeah, I'm crying out for a right winger. That's actually on the right foot. Yeah, that's what Miggy used to do.
I'm not bothered about that. I just want them to be able to use that fucking right foot. Like
he can't. He does the same thing.
If he's. But again, it's sort of end products. Like, yes, I want a both-footed player. Like, I haven't got a problem with a player playing on the wing using their opposite foot. Like Gordon. Gordon's a left winger, but right-footed. So that's really, really common in football these days. But you need to be able to use both. Gordon can.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Miggy can't. His end product's fucking abysmal. I'm not sure what Javi Simmons' right foot's like. If it's not great, but he can do things with it. If his end product's good enough, then I'm not really that bothered in that sense. If he's a massive upgrade on Miggy, then that's good enough for me, regardless of how good his weak foot is. But yeah, ideally, you do want someone that can use both feet, especially if they're playing on the opposite flank, like Gordon. Like, you've just got to be able to use both feet, man. It's fucking football. Like, you're paid hundreds and thousands.
This is your job.
You're paid like $100,000 a week. A week? You're mad. Like, the money footballers get, and they can't use both feet. Like, your feet are how you get paid. That is your job. You use your feet to earn money, and you can't use both of them. You've only got two. So like a fucking octopus. You haven't got like 8 feet that you need to use at least 6 for. Like, you've only got 2 feet. Use them. It's not that difficult. Like, I don't understand it. But yeah, I mean, he's a good player, young player. My red flag with Xavi Simmons is he's 21 years old and been to a lot of clubs.
Yeah, he has.
Like, why doesn't seem like anyone really wants to keep him.
No. And he doesn't want to stay at PSG now, apparently, because, again, he's not really going to get the game time. And You're right when you look at that and you think, well, why has it not worked out?
Yeah, where's he been? He's been PSG, Leipzig,
Germany, France, Holland,
PSV. Like 21 years old and played for so many clubs. Like
he looked good at the Euros, but there's also some games where his end product wasn't great. Like some games when he tried to unleash the shot.
I think it's because he came through at like 17 or something, and he was this like world beat that was like the biggest name, or maybe he's even 16. I can't remember, but he came through really young. Everyone was hyping him up. But maybe he's overhyped. Maybe he's just not living up to that potential that everybody thought. But yeah, he's been around the block a little bit. He's quite experienced for his young age, still 21, it's a fine age. But I don't know, just everyone kind of like passing him on is a bit of a red flag for me. Like,
and the thing is that PSG were welcome to a loan move. So that would be perfect. That would work our it. Even though I'd rather spend the majority of our transfer fund on the right winger. If you get him through on a loan, that would be all right to see how he gets on. But it's rumoured that PSG want the hefty obligation fee put in there as well, so that wouldn't work out. If he obviously
that's what they got last time, wasn't it? Because they sold him to, was it PSV or Leipzig? I can't remember which one, but
Leipzig, I think.
Yeah, they sold him and had like a 5 million buyback clause in or something, which is peanuts these days. Like that was an easy deal for them. Like I think that was always the plan. It's essentially a loan. You got money for him to go out, get some experience, and we'll just pay you 5 million, which is fucking coppers, and we'll just get him back. Like it's essentially a loan deal, really. Like with risk free, that if you were shit, it could have been like, no way, you can keep him. But like, if he's any good, then we'll pay 5 million, get him back anyways. Yeah, that could be a good deal. Like if we got him on loan, maybe with an obligation to buy, then yeah, I think that would be a good deal for him at least. But
The Athletic are reporting a few other names. One I'll chuck at you as well is obviously one of the players of the tournament, to be fair, and obviously the one that scored the opener in the final, Nico Williams. He was apparently the leading option alongside Anthony Gordon when we signed Gordon a couple of years ago, but he wanted to stay in Spain. It looks like Williams could be on the move because obviously everybody in world football now wants him after shining at the tournament. However, this one looks unlikely because of his wages.
Yeah, and I've also seen big interest from Chelsea today as well. So, like I say, he's going to be in high demand.
And he's a left winger, not a right winger. So
yeah, he's going to rely. He's going to need like a hefty price tag, wages, big interest. Not in a key position that we need. Like we've got depth at left wing with Harvey Barnes still being there. Yeah, we need right wingers. So yeah, whatever he's going to cost, like round ballpark figure. What do you think his value is?
Williams.
Yeah,
I think has he not got a 40 or a 60 million release clause? So it's not too much, but
that's not too much.
It's because of his wages. Though. He's on big wages. He's still on bigger wages when he signs a new deal.
Say it's 60 million plus 180 grand a week or something like that for another left winger. Like waste. I wouldn't say waste of money because he's a top talent and still really young. But yeah, it's just an unnecessary expense. Really, it's like a luxury signing, not like a position of need.
Yeah, I agree. Right wing's where we're at. An actual right winger would be nice. Another one linked is Leeds United winger Notto. He was obviously flying 2 years ago in the Prem.
It was class, right?
Unbelievable, wasn't he? And he was linked with loads of teams then. And I was quite surprised that he stayed at least in the Championship. I don't know what he stats were, to be honest with you, last year in the Championship. I haven't checked. But Stevenson there is on 250 grand a week already, Williams. So he began at Chelsea on 400 grand a week. But yeah, Notto for me, he's an exciting young player. Don't get us wrong, but it's not the best.
It's a nice option. We need depth there. Like I think we're all assume that Miggy's probably going to leave this summer. I'd be quite surprised if he does stay. And
Devastated if he does stay.
We've also sold Minter, so we've literally only got Murphy. So if we sell Miggy, I think we're going to need a couple of more replacements. I think we need a little bit of depth there. So if we've got Nando, hopefully quite cheap, because I know like a year ago, like he demanded quite a high price tag. I think they valued him at about 40, 50. I don't know if you'd get him for that now, like after a year in the Championship. Like, I don't even know how he done. They didn't get promoted.
So final, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they've got to be a bit more realistic and maybe slash that in half. So if it was maybe 20 million for someone so young, so pacey, a lot of talent and potential, I'd probably pay that. But I'd also kind of still want to be in the market for another one.
That's what I mean. It's not.
Yeah, like I'd rather just go out and get I'd rather just go out and get like a solid number one, like someone that really excites you, gets you off your seat, knows fine well he's going to be number one.
We need that marquee signing to be that right winger.
Yeah, not those depth. He goes alongside Murphy, but ultimately you still want to stay in the market and get like a number one.
Because Notto flies in that same nest for me as your rumoured players of down that rate to be like Somerville from Leeds as well is linked. Anthony Elanga from Nottingham Forest is keep on going. Apparently, Howe's a big fan of Elanga.
Somerville on FIFA, it's fucking class.
Well, these are players where they are young with potential and exciting, but again, I just think I want someone a bit better than that.
Those
three are in that category, like your Elangas, your Somervilles, your Nottos, even Pedro Neto for me because of the injuries.
Yeah.
The one you want is Brian Mbeumo for me, or again linked today is Jared Bowen, which again we've talked about. It's going to be very hard to happen.
We spoke about Chiesa, Sancho.
Yeah, Chiesa. Yeah, Sancho's apparently made up with Ten Hag now, isn't he? Best pals now.
Yeah, he's back in training now.
Still getting beat, they want the Man U. Got beat off Rosenberg yesterday. 1-0.
Nice.
Ten Hag kicking off already. Southgate, please go to Man U.
Good start.
I want that to happen. I want Southgate and Man U. That'd be hilarious. But plenty of wingers being linked in Newcastle. No, hopefully we'll get Man U in the final, and this time we'll beat them. Going off Southgate's recent final record, that would be nice. But whether those names that have been rumoured for Newcastle for the last few weeks still are the same keg, because over there in Germany at the minute, at the Adidas headquarters, where Newcastle have landed for a pre-season camp this week before coming back and then going to Japan in less than a couple of weeks' time, Paul Mitchell, the new director of football, is having transfer meetings right now with Eddie Howe to identify targets. So, could those be a whole batch of new names and someone we saying that hasn't been linked at all?
Maybe, and hopefully, because there's been a ton of names thrown around. None of them really got me interested. There's some good names. I'm not saying that I'm not excited by the prospect of a Bowen or maybe even Sancho. Nico Williams, I think, is unrealistic. I wouldn't even classify him.
No.
Some of the others, I don't know. I just don't really think there's anybody that's really kind of turned my head and be like, oh my God, that'd be an amazing signing. So, but yeah, I think they would put their heads together, come up with some ideas. I think they've probably both got a list together. If they can come up with an agreement, maybe give the pros and cons for each. Why is this a good deal? Why not? What's their value? What could we get them for? What's their wages? Blah, blah, blah. And come up with a short list of identified targets and go out and get them. Whether their names we've heard before in the rumour mill or not, I couldn't give a shit. But as long as they're top class players, because remember last year, we almost signed Barella, and that was a name completely off the cuff. We didn't even... That wasn't a rumour at all until it was almost done. Then in the next breath, it's not done, but we're signing Tonali.
It was a complete smoke screen for Tonali. Complete smoke screen for Tonali.
But even both names just came out of absolutely nowhere, and both names were top class players. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, either one of them would have been a class option. But
that's what I want for the right wing. I want someone to take me breath. Wow, yes, can't wait for him to say, want to see this unveiling. That's the kind of big move I want and crave for that. And I think it will be, because I think he can take a look at where we were a couple of weeks ago in trying to get Elise. He was the number one target.
Yeah.
The bid was accepted, everything else, but obviously Elise chose buying, fair enough.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of shows the level that they're going for right winger. That's why I would be surprised if they ended up with Notto or Elanga or something like that. Because
I think
he's a different level.
We're going to get some big fish, because we're past the PSR deadline. We've actually got money to spend now. We've got the Adidas deal. We've got deal from the documentary or where other sponsors. Seller, the stack's opening soon. So with the new kind of 3-year PSR window and 70-odd million of sales from Minter, Anderson and Ashworth, we've got some money to spend, man. Open up the checkbook, get it spent, man. Hopefully this meeting between Mitchell and Howe does come together, and we can just absolutely spunk some money on some absolutely top class players, because we need it. I think we're going to afford it. And we need it. We need it. We need some players.
We can definitely afford it. I think we will go for it. And you mentioned obviously the sponsorships now in place that we can use from the last couple of years after the PSR deadline, and even Eales said today, expect more sponsors announced in the coming months.
Yes, that was a nice little teaser.
I did tease with that one. So is that leaning towards maybe the old training kit sponsor that's been lingering for a while now? Maybe a training ground sponsor that you see the likes of Liverpool having.
Maybe.
They've got the AXA training ground, and that's another easy 10, 20 million a year.
Yeah.
You see Man U, I think they've got 2 different training sponsors. I've got one on the middle, and then I've got one on the
shirt,
sleeve.
yeah. Oh,
So
right,
warm up the Old
yeah.
Trafford. Even the bibs have sponsored, man.
That's mad.
These are just weird. These are just loopholes.
Who's sponsoring a training bib?
Loopholes. Well, you say that, but you look at it. All these training pictures that Newcastle have released in the past few days since come back the pre-season, everyone's buzzing about them, everyone's sharing them. If you had shout out Annie Brewery, if they had Annie Brewery in the middle of the bib, everyone would be like, oh, it's Annie Brewery. Oh, blah, blah. So that's why. So obviously, that's why they do. You know, it's a big deal in that, big way advertise. So with that in mind, hopefully there is some more moolah coming in from some big sponsors, which will definitely help in the long term as well.
Yeah, it was a nice little teaser that one from Darren Eales, wasn't it? It was a good interview. Like I know, like a lot of people have been saying, particularly recently, there's been no communication from the club, but historically, particularly over the last 15 years under bloody Mike Ashley, we got absolutely knout. Fans were left in the dark. Like we've been a lot more open in the past few years since the takeover. But yeah, that interview was brilliant. Like 9 minutes long on the club's social media pages. Opened up a lot, answered a lot of questions, fan questions that you don't normally get from CEOs or owners or anybody kind of front office. I thought it was brilliant. Like open, honest, like answered some questions, give us some little teasers that like we're negotiating with some sponsors and stuff that they're hoping to put through in the next few months. So, yeah, it was brilliant.
It was like Ian saying he had TMC at St. James Park Arena. That'd be lovely.
If we could afford it.
Wish I had the funds for that. Wish I had the funds for that. Would be absolutely great. Just TMC. This is the logo above these stands.
That's the dream. Nice. Maybe one day.
That'd be the dream. Just a box would be nice, to be fair.
If you want to give a box,
would be nice. I mean, the bloody sponsor. So there we go. Some great words from Newcastle CEO Darren Eales. Some exciting things happening over there in Germany at the Adidas headquarters. Where what I love and all is how everyone's together in this. I like the fact that the new CEOs went out there.
Yeah.
The new CEO, Eales is obviously there, but the new director of football, Paul Mitchell's out there. He's obviously brought along James Bunth with him. Mr. Bunce, who he was with at Monaco. He's a performance director.
Yeah.
So that was never a thing a few years ago. Now it is, and now it's needed because apparently he is the injury specialist. Which with Newcastle.
That's great.
We're going to do one of them. If only he was here last year. We actually got through the Champions League and I'd had 15 injuries and 3 keepers and 7 kids on the bench every week. So that would have been lovely. So what do you make of the old James Bunce appointment then? Because again, this is a reshuffle. Again, this is something new and someone that's got to work with Eddie Howe because he said, he's got to be in the mix there and he'll be on the training ground as well. And he'll be working out, this injury crisis we had and to avoid that happening again.
Yeah. What's his job title again?
Performance director.
Who knows any performance directors? Like, anyone's bullshitting if you knew who he was. Like name me any performance directors in the Premier League. Who's Man City's performance director?
Exactly.
Who's Man United's performance director?
Chelsea will definitely have one. Chelsea definitely have one.
Nobody knows who these guys are. But and it is like an important thing in football these days. Like nutrition, that's like a part of his job. Like performance, injury recovery, like all that kind of thing. Like is important in modern day football. Historically, Newcastle has had a lift in history with injuries, like dating way back to when I was a kid. But particularly last year.
He's gonna the only way this performance director is gonna win.
He's gonna earn his money.
We need a new training ground because it's scarce, man.
But yeah, like hopefully he can just like install like new technologies and like diets and stuff like in injury recoveries next season. So when we go on to like Champions League, hopefully in the next couple of years, like last year was just an absolute write-off from the beginning. Like the biggest period was kind of like the back end of 2023, like when we're going for like them last few games in the Champions League and you got like the Carabao Cup like later stages. Like that's where we needed our key players and we're in like no offense to Lewis Miley, but 17 years old, hadn't played a minute of Premier League football prior to last season, chucked in, played 90 minutes, no subs made. We didn't even have enough for subs. Like I say, we played fucking 6 goalkeepers on the bench, two 9-year-olds. Like it was just an absolute write-off. So yes, someone like him with a reputation, obviously recommended by Paul Mitchell as well, because they work together at Monaco. He's a Mitchell signing. He's not someone that Darren Eales is pinpointed or
I think Eales even mentioned that in his interview.
Like Mitchell's obviously thought, I'm bringing him in because we work together at Monaco. And yeah, like he's probably doing his research, Mitchell, again. See this fucking injury history, yeah. What's it called? Boise, Bunsey, whatever it's called. Bunsey. Get yourself in here, son. We need pal. Jesus Christ, this club's ridiculous. So
was it an episode of Only Fools and Horses last year? To be fair, Boise would have fitted right in.
Yeah, never heard of the kid before in his life, but if he is this injury specialist that he's meant to be, then great. He's a mint signing.
Welcome signing. Start saying that never mind your bloody kids as anyone else. Take him out there. What is so good though, right, about this is having these players, these positions on the board secured. I mean, now to have a performance director, a director of football, a CEO, a CCO,
building up that stuff.
You know, with Silverstone, Eales, Bunce, Mitchell, all these people behind the scenes. I know
a name that gets pushed under the radar. But I
haven't
heard his name in months.
Pivotal behind the Adidas deal, won't you? And he'll be pivotal behind these new sponsors that are coming. Because that's his job, really, Chief Commercial Officer. Obviously, we chatted to him a few months ago, didn't we? That video's on the channel. But basically, under Ashley, Lee Charnley was doing all these roles. 4 or 5 roles he was doing. Well, he wasn't obviously doing very well.
He wasn't doing anything, really.
He was meant to be.
It was his responsibility.
He was doing that. He was meant to be, but he was just sitting there, headset off, checking out, sitting in bed watching Jurassic Park. That's what he was doing. You know what I mean? Working hard. But how good is it now to have a proper structure at the club? And what I thought was funny, Kay, was 4 years to this day, there was a Craig Hope tweet that just surfaced again before I came out, right? And it was him announcing that Jeff Hendrick was on the verge of joining Newcastle on a free transfer.
Goodness.
Bruce was trying his best to get a striker in. But
was he?
But loans, but Ashley wouldn't let him, and loans was the only option this summer, 4 years ago, and we're all in lockdown. So let's just be grateful for where we are now. You know what how miserable is that? Hendrick signing, loans only, not a penny to spend. Lee Charnley doing every job at the club, including cleaning the toilets, and we were all locked down and the pubs were closed. So yeah, the toilets were scruffy.
I know.
Need toilet roll, bogs were flooding.
Can't afford a strike guy. Jeff Hendrick on a free. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
What a time to be alive.
Absolutely million. Let's touch on this, and Keg, before we go and get any last minute questions in the chat as well, people. I want to hear your thoughts on, obviously, the man of Staveley and Mehrdad Guddusi leaving in the past week. I've did a couple of videos on it, but we haven't heard from your thoughts on it. So what was the initial one, and what do you think of it now?
Initially, a bit surprising. Didn't see it coming at the time. So, confusion, surprised. I think they were my initial thoughts. I think I first seen like a rumor. I think that it went on Twitter first. And at first I thought bullshit, just another one of them stupid bloody Twitter rumors that you say every single day. But yeah, once like it actually started to like come to fruition a bit, like more reliable sources, like before that it actually was officially announced by the club. It makes sense because she is an investor. That's her job. That's what they do. Like she was never really meant to be here for the long term, and I get that now. Like I think we were maybe a little bit short-sighted. I think we thought like she's known her. She's balls deep in it. Loved the club. Like loved like the women's team and everything like that. So proper invested. But that's the thing. She's an investor. She's came in here, built a structure, built literally the structure of the club from the ground up that Mike Ashley left absolutely zero of. Like she's built the foundations of the club, built it up with everybody else, like your Silverstones, even like your Dan Ashworths and everyone else with Mehrdad and Darren Eales, everyone like that. Like they've put it in good stead moving forward, and brought the women's team under the Newcastle United roof because they were playing individually, independently. So yeah, she's done her job, and she's sold her shares and probably made profit, which is what investors
nice profit,
and what investors do. Like we don't know the exact finances. Like we don't even know how much she put in initially, but initially she had 10 million, 10% of the club. And she sold 4% of that last year, and then our final remaining 6 now. So she sold that 10% shares. Don't know what she bought it for. Don't know what she's got for it, but it's going to be mad profit. Like from the Mike Ashley piece of shit club that she invested in, that 10% would have been worth fucking £10. And what she sold it for, Jesus Christ! Like from that infrastructure that she's built, the sponsorships and everything, Champions League football. There's a lot more interest, so them stocks would have risen massively. Huge. So that's just what she does. Like, and like, I'm disappointed that she's left and maybe isn't kind of keeping over some sort of directorate role or kind of like an ambassadory role, something like that. Like, I thought she might have stuck on in some capacity. maybe it's even a 1% share, a 0.5% share.
To be on the board,
yeah,
stakeholder.
just to kind of still be here to especially like support the women and everything else that she's done. Just kind of still be here, like day to day. Not even necessarily day to day, but like like still kind of be here and be a part of the club. So yeah, to go like wholeheartedly and sell like all your shares, every single one of them. Yeah, surprised, but she's an investor. She'll move on. Next job. That's it. She's done her job more than well enough. Mm-hmm. Like the club's a million miles better off now than what it was before she took over. She was the face of our franchise for what, three years? Mm-hmm. 3 years. Yeah, she's been like the sweetheart of Newcastle. She's been everybody's mother. Everybody,
the North.
Yeah, queen of Newcastle. So yeah, that's just more disappointing than anything, but not surprised, and best of luck to her in the future.
You mentioned you thought she might have stayed on in some capacity. I was kind of the same because mainly, as we've seen firsthand, the impact she's had on the women's team and how she was there at the majority of games at Kingston Park behind us in that box, just above the press. And she loves it. She was so invested in it. We're seeing on the final day when they got promotion, she was drinking out the trophy.
She was.
Yeah, she was amazing. So it's surprising in that aspect, isn't it? Because it's a big season ahead for the women, and she was pivotal in that, wasn't she?
Yeah, I know they all loved her and all, because I know she had a personal relationship with every single one of the girls. Yeah. And we seen that firsthand going to the women's games last year. Like say that last game at Kingston Park, is embracing every single one of them, talking to them, drinking with them. Like they all loved her. Like she was like a pal. She wasn't like an owner. She was like a mate, just like one of the fans kind of thing. So yeah, I'm sure the girls will be more disappointed than any of like the male players. But just as the fans as well, like yeah, it is disappointing. Like I hope that somebody has that in them, because I know Darren Eales went to a lot of the games as well. So I hope
he was there as well. The final day, wasn't he?
Yeah. So I hope Eales or somebody, Paul Mitchell maybe, goes to them games and kind of shares that love and respect for the women's game that Amanda like kind of put into the club. Hopefully we'll still get some like St. James's Park games for the girls as well. So yeah, I'm sure they'll miss her as much as what the men will. So yeah, it's disappointing, and that's why I say a little bit surprising that she didn't take on like at least an ambassador role, just to kind of stay like under the umbrella of the club. So yeah, just to go like cold turkey is a bit mad, really.
Maybe that does show that, and we all know it is obviously a business at the end of the day, but that does show her business woman side of things, because like you said, she did come in as an investor, she did break out the deal, she did get it done. Maybe now she can't stay because she's looking at the next thing.
Yeah. Maybe it's like
maybe like, right, well, I'm going to Brentford now, I'm going to invest there.
You know, maybe she's like cutting ties a little bit just to kind of make it a little bit easier, just make the transition easier, just to kind of like break off the relationship as harshly as possible, just rip the bandage off and just be like, right, I'm going. I've got other things. Like she's probably got things in the pipeline that we don't know about yet.
Yeah,
like
sure.
I'm sure, but like before we got taken over, were the Saudis not interested in Roma?
Yeah.
Was that a thing? So she might go and head up a takeover of Roma or anywhere across Europe. Like that might be a plan. She might not necessarily stay in England. She might go anywhere in the world. And that's just what it is. That's just what investors do. But yeah, just to not kind of be here in any capacity whatsoever is the most surprising thing to me. Like not moving on. Expected and understandable that she's done that, but yeah, just to not kind of keep an ambassador role or something like that. Like, yeah, I am surprised at that.
She did obviously do an amazing job for us. You know, we had loads of gratitude and respect for getting the takeover done, and for, as we said, the things she's achieved for men's and women's. But at the end of the day, and it is brutal, but there's not a necessity for her now as a role, because she did play such a huge part in. We've seen the documentary, you know, the Anthony Gordon signing. Early on that first window, she was there for
she was
Bruno.
Getting raging when she was on the phone when she was in Saudi. She was doing something in Saudi. She was on the phone trying to get the Gordon deal done, like fucking raging in the back of a taxi.
She go mental, and she was huge in that. You know, she did an amazing job for us. But now, Darren Eales is obviously going to be the face of the club. That's what's been said. He's obviously CEO. He'll be involved in that.
Yeah.
Predominantly now, obviously,
Mitchell's involved.
Paul Mitchell.
Well,
yeah. So there's people there in the places. There's not much for Amanda Amina to do behind the scenes now, whereas there was everything to do.
Yeah. Like she pretty much done everything, but like you say, like Eales, I think over the last year since he's been involved, she's sold 4% of our shares. Like Eales has pretty much taken over day-to-day responsibility. Like Mitchell coming in as well. Like there's people coming in that can do the job and take care of the workload. So it's not like she's going to be that big of a miss in that sense. It's kind of more like the presence that's just going to be a miss, like how kind of invested she was in the club and how much we loved her. She seemed to love us. Like, that's the miss. Like, the day-to-day jobs can be covered. Like, that's not a problem. And the Rubens have got 5% share more as well, so we might get to see a bit more of them.
Yeah.
Jamie was always there, so Jamie might kind of have to step up and be the face of the franchise. But the other one whose name I even forget, like, I haven't even seen him. Like, Jamie was
Jamie and is it Michael or Liam?
I can't remember. That's what I mean. Like, Jamie was at every game.
He's the only one you ever see, really.
Yeah, I don't know what the other brother does, but he's never really had anything to do with the club, really. It's always been Jamie,
It's always Jamie mentioned.
So maybe if he can step up, like both of them can step up, you might see Jamie a lot more, and the other one might show his face a little bit more often as well. But yeah, they've got 5% more shares than they did. They've took half of Amanda and Murdad's shares, so yeah, you might see a bit more from the Rubens.
With 85% backed by the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia.
That's not a bad thing. And that's one of the things that pissed me off, man. Like on like the national pages, like a sports Bible and things like that. Like everyone, like
they were trying to laugh.
Everyone taking the piss, going, "Oh, Newcastle's on the decline." Like, man, that's selling that
the
shares
board
and stuff.
now.
Like, and
get back, Ashley.
No more Saudi money.
Got more?
They've got more. What are you talking about? Oh, idiots, man! Like you do know that Amanda Staveley is not Saudi Arabia.
She was the skint English one.
You did get that, don't you? Like, she wasn't actually Saudi herself. But yeah, this is like from what I've heard, and I'm not like financially savvy or business savvy in that aspect, but from what I've heard and read, like this actually benefits the club because the Saudis have more shares and more say, more responsibility, and they're the ones with the money at the end of the day. Amanda's well off, I'm sure, but she ain't got the bloody. I don't even think she's got Reuben money, let alone bloody Saudi money.
Plus, with these court cases she's had recently, she's done off a Greek tycoon for quite a few mil.
So the club's financially better off without her. Like with the Saudis taking 5% more shares, it's a good thing.
I mean, this is kind of what we wanted at the start in the sense of a more Saudi-backed regime. So you have got more money because Amanda was there, and there's the face of it to kind of sweeten the whole Premier League deal, wasn't it? Because you had to go through the ratification and the process of the Premier League for so long to get it through. Now it's through. Now we can just keep chipping away until we're 95% owned by Saudi, and then you can keep getting more money put in, So, yeah, it's probably a good thing. I do like this from Aaron there saying, need a war flags banner of Amanda and Murdad when the season starts. Totally agree. That would be a lovely touch, wouldn't it? First game of the season against Southampton. Big Amanda and Murdad flag there.
That's another thing that I actually seen just before, because I was flicking through the Anarchy Brewery Instagram page trying to find a beer that named I couldn't remember, and I seen that they had a thing with Anarchy Brewery with the war flags, like they met like the war flags and the Anarchy people holding up like the flag and stuff. So obviously she had like she was like that, like she was community spirited,
she
like
really
she took care of like the local businesses and stuff.
Yeah, she did get it. Like, and what was that beer called? That you did find out the name of it? Blind Faith.
Blind Faith, that's the one.
Blind Faith, lovely stuff.
Absolutely sensational.
Obviously, as well, people are mentioning here in the chat, Amanda's got a chronic illness too, doesn't she? As Steve, she has got Huntington's disease, so hopefully that doesn't deteriorate and she carries on. And best luck to Amanda in the future. And thanks again for saving Newcastle. Because it wasn't for her, would still
Thank
be
you for
under
everything. Best
Ashley.
of luck for the future.
Dave also said need a Magpie Channel war flags too. Great show.
Yep.
Lovely. That'd be great, that. Right then, I think that'll do for this week's podcast. Thank you very much, everyone that is tuned in live on YouTube. Cheers to everyone that is listening back on Apple, Spotify, Google, all those podcast platforms. Cheers again, Anarchy Brewery, for hosting us this evening. Remember, you can scan that QR code on the screen to get yourselves a pack of war beer and support war flags at the same time. Cheers, Keg.
Thank you very
Been
much.
a pleasure.
Yeah, as always.
We'll see you next week, live at Tuesday, 7 p.m. Enjoy yourself.